What is success?
For me, success is just accomplishing your personal story. But success in the NBA, I don't see any more obvious answer than rings. I'm gonna try and win as much as I can.
Can Victor Wembanyama become the greatest basketball player of all time? Coming from a small suburb just 15 miles outside of Paris, France, holds the future of the NBA. Victor is arguably the most hyped prospect to enter the NBA since LeBron James back in 2003. Standing at 7 feet, 5 inches tall with an 8-foot wingspan and is only 19 years old. The scariest part is that he is a 32-inch vertical and is freakishly athletic for his size. Most people would say he is a generational talent.
This is the most talented 18-year-old I have ever seen.
We've never seen anything like this. I don't even know if 2K let you create a 7-foot guy to get back to the ball.
I don't think it would.
With expectations set so high for Victor Wembanyama, he is going to have to win multiple championships and have so much impact in the NBA to hold the title greatest of all time. And if he doesn't meet these expectations, sadly, he'll be known as the biggest bust in the NBA. So I'm gonna simulate Victor Wembanyama's career to see if he can become the greatest basketball player of all time. In order for Victor to become the greatest of all time, he is gonna have to win at least 7 rings in his career, multiple MVP awards, and he will have to break some of the all-time records for people to consider him the greatest of all time. My biggest concern for Victor Wembanyama is his longevity in the league. How long will his body hold up before it breaks down? There's only one way to find out, and that is to start his NBA career. After simulating Victor's first season, the Spurs ended up going 39-43, which ultimately gave them the 10th seed in the Western Conference and just barely getting them into the play-in tournament. And who would have thought? Nikola Jokic still dominating the NBA, winning the MVP award, averaging 27 points, 15 rebounds, along with 10 assists per game, shooting an unreal 41% from 3. And Victor starts his NBA career winning the Rookie of the Year award. This is the best start he could have. He's got an opportunity to make the playoffs and has won Rookie of the Year, averaging 19 points, 11 rebounds, along with 3 assists and 3 blocks per game. Victor had an amazing first season to prove to everyone that he really has what it takes to dominate in the NBA. And now the Spurs will have to face off against the OKC's young but dominant team. Losing by 66 points with 20 seconds left and no Victor Wembanyama on the floor, this just goes to show which team is better. And clearly OKC was 10 times better. This was a terrible team performance, but it's okay because the team can learn from this game. Hopefully next season we have a better regular season to put us in a better spot in the playoffs. And just like that, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs have been eliminated. The Minnesota Timberwolves go on to win the NBA Finals. Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs have now built some chemistry and everyone is healthy. Hopefully they take a big leap and actually make it to the playoffs and not the play-in tournament. Breaking even, going 41-41 in year 2 gave them the 8th seed in the Western Conference. No surprise to us, Joker has won back-to-back MVP awards while averaging a triple-double. Being the 8th seed in the Western Conference forces us in the play-in tournament, and we now have to face Luka Doncic in the Dallas Mavericks. Luka is the last player in the NBA I want Victor to have to play for a spot in the playoffs. With the lack of playoff experience, this is going to be extremely challenging for the Spurs. But you cannot forget who Victor Wembanyama really is and what he's capable of doing. Victor playing until the sound of the buzzer, not letting any distractions get to him, and wanting this more than anyone. The result being Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs having to play Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies in round 2 of the play-in tournament. Ja Morant was busy doing other things, and it led to an absolute blowout in round 2 of the play-in tournament, which allows Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs advancing to the playoffs for the first time in his career. Playing the #1 Houston Rockets, Victor doing everything he can to keep his team alive, but unfortunately, the Spurs lose 4-1 in the first round of the playoffs. In year 3, Victor and the Spurs must take a big leap as a team and become that dominant force in the league that nobody wants to play. Doing exactly that and having a record of 56-26 and being the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, Victor wins his first ever MVP award in just year 3, averaging almost 26 points, 14 rebounds, along with 3 assists and 3 blocks, shooting at an extremely high percentage as a 7'5" player in the NBA. And Victor goes on to a Defensive Player of the Year. Oh my God, Victor has had a breakout year. Let's see how far Victor and the Spurs can make it in the playoffs. Facing the Kings in the first round of the playoffs, I have extremely high hopes on getting into the second round. Let's simulate this round and see what happens. Beating the Kings in Game 7 advances Victor Wembanyama to the second round in the playoffs to play against the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are still chasing after their first ring together, so I know this is going to be a big challenge for Victor as he doesn't have much help on defense. The Spurs letting Victor play freely and allowing him to play his own game in this situation is the best thing that they can do. Nobody on the Suns can contest Victor's shot, so the Suns are praying Victor struggles under pressure. It's looking like a 5v1, Victor trying everything he can to keep the Spurs in the playoffs, but sadly the Suns go on to sweep Victor in the San Antonio Spurs. It is now year 4 of Victor's career, and his health has honestly surprised me. With no injuries so far, his career is still looking promising, but he must make some noise this year and make it to the finals. Finishing year 4 and falling to the 8th seed barely got them into the playoffs. Luka is still dominating the league, winning the MVP award in year 2026-2027. And Victor Wembanyama wins his second Defensive Player of the Year award, which is a great sign. He is still putting up ridiculous numbers. Falling to the 8th seed causes us to play against the number 1 seed Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference. With a few years left in Luka is gonna put everything on the line to get past this young star. Now let's simulate year 4. Luka getting off to a hot start and not looking back as the Dallas Mavericks sweep the Spurs in the first round of the playoffs. In the meantime, Amen Thompson is turning around the Houston Rockets franchise in front of our eyes. Winning the NBA Finals and winning the Finals MVP award is quite impressive. It is now year 5 and I still have hope in Victor's career as they are consistently making the playoffs each year. I'm just not sure how long his body will last in this league. So if Victor wants to become the greatest of all time, he is going to have to win his first ring this season. Like I said, Amen Thompson is turning around the Houston Rockets franchise in front of our eyes, and now he is winning the MVP award. And Victor goes on to win his third Defensive Player of the Year award. Victor is still putting up solid numbers, and I still have faith in him winning his first ring this season. Two young stars go head-to-head to face off in the first round of the playoffs. This is one of the most hyped series people have been waiting for, Victor Wembanyama versus Anthony Edwards. Two potential stars that could be the face of the NBA. With 1 second left, it's the Timberwolves ball on the sideline out of bounds. They get it in, it will go if he makes it, and the San Antonio Spurs have been eliminated. Victor Wembanyama fans are starting to worry, as Victor has not won a ring yet in his first 5 years into the league, after being the most hyped prospect to enter the NBA since LeBron James back in 2003. Not knowing how much time is left in Victor's career, but it seems as if he is doing alright with his health. My only concern if he wants to be the greatest basketball player of all time is that he is going to have to win multiple championships in a row to even be in the same category as Michael Jordan and LeBron James. As Victor finishes his 6th season, the Spurs are still making it to the playoffs each year. Finishing with the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, now the Spurs play the Golden State Warriors in round 1 of the playoffs. A completely revamped Golden State Warriors team versus a healthy Spurs team with great chemistry. I would expect this to be a great series, with Victor Wembanyama trying to prove to the world that he is capable of being the greatest basketball player of all time, while critics think otherwise. And the Spurs have eliminated the Golden State Warriors in round 1 of the playoffs. In round 2, the Spurs will go against OKC. The last time the Spurs played OKC in the playoffs, they got destroyed. Let's hope it's not a repeat of that. Is this game fucking broken? Yo, there is no way we keep getting destroyed by OKC. Like, this is insane. It's like there's something against OKC that we just cannot beat them. They ended up going to the finals. Let's see if we can simulate and see if they win the yeah, they won the finals. I was gonna say, there's no way. They were like the greatest team of all time. They would have easily beaten the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors by a landslide. There would have been no question about it. It is now year 7, and Victor Wembanyama must win a ring this year, or else I'd say it's not possible for him to become the greatest player of all time. With us not knowing how long he's gonna last in the league, we have no telling on if he'll be able to win 7 rings at this rate. And right now, it looks like we might not even make the play-in tournament in the 2029 and 2030 season. We just jumped to the 8th seed, so that means we are good, and we lost our last game of the season, which gave us the 11th seed, and that means we are no longer in the play-in tournament. After simulating Victor's 8th season, he ended up in the exact same spot, getting the 11th seed in the Western Conference. Missing the playoffs 2 years in a row is a really bad look, especially when trying to become the greatest basketball player of all time. I'm not sure if Victor needs to step away from the Spurs, but I know the Spurs are not going to want to get rid of Victor. I feel like he is stuck with the Spurs at this point, needing to find the right players around Victor to make him the best player that he could possibly be. It is now Victor's 9th season, and at this point, I would say the Spurs are in rebuild mode. Not making the play-in tournament in the last 3 years is not acceptable when having a generational talent on your team. And Victor's 10th season, they somehow managed to miss the play-in tournament 4 years in a row. But wait, Victor is now back in the play-in tournament as the 7th seed, and they take on the Utah Jazz. With a brand new Spurs roster, the Spurs might have a better chance at making the NBA Finals. Victor is still playing out of his mind, so this tells me the past 4 years were rough due to his teammates. Now this is where all the people who think LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time come to hate. They will claim LeBron had no help in Cleveland and he was still able to win a ring down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors. So let's see what Victor can do with this brand new team and see how far he can make it into the playoffs. After dominating against the Utah Jazz, the Spurs are now facing the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the NBA playoffs. We are going to simulate this series to see if we win, and the Spurs beat the number 2 Minnesota Timberwolves to advance to the second round, and here we are back playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, I'm not making this shit up, bro. Like, I can't do it. It is now Victor's 12th season in the NBA with a brand new roster, having to build chemistry on the go. But Victor is able to lead the Spurs back into the playoffs as the 6th seed, and who would have thought we would be playing OKC in the first round? Shai becoming the face of the NBA, while Victor is still trying to prove himself to the NBA that he is a generational talent and nobody's able to guard him, and there's a reason that he has won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. But Victor isn't able to stop OKC, which gets them eliminated from the playoffs. In Victor's 13th season, he's able to make a run to the playoffs, getting the 4th seed in the Western Conference. In the first round of the playoffs, Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs are going up against the Utah Jazz, so let's simulate this process. And we just got swept by the Utah Jazz. I'm honestly at a loss for words at this moment. Like, I thought Victor would at least have 1 ring by now, but we are sitting on 0. It is now Victor's 14th season in the NBA, and I'm honestly surprised that he has lasted this long in the league. Being 7'5", I could only imagine of how much stress his body is going through. And the fact that he hasn't gotten injured yet one time in his career is honestly so surprising. I'm not wishing an injury on anybody, but I feel like it'd be way more likely to be injured being 7'5" than it would be a normal size center. We're facing the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, which is scary because Amen Thompson has completely turned their entire franchise around, with Victor still averaging 25 points per game, and we are able to beat the Rockets in round 1. Now in round 2, we are back facing the Dallas Mavericks. Luka is almost retired but still needs his ring. Luka isn't messing around as he sends the Spurs back home to the next season. It is year 15, and I'm only assuming Victor's career is coming to an end very soon. I need Victor to win a ring this season. I understand he is not the greatest basketball player of all time, but I need to see him win at least 1. After simulating the first round of the playoffs, Victor and the Spurs got swept by the Portland Trailblazers. It is year 16 for Victor, and he is showing no signs of giving up, making it all the way back to the playoffs just to face the Dallas Mavericks again. Victor is looking to get his revenge this time, and the Spurs go on to sweep the Mavs and move on to round 2. In round 2, the Spurs are playing against the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's see if we can make it to the Western Conference Finals. After simulating the second round, the Spurs have eliminated the Clippers and are now moving on to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in Victor's career. The Spurs are going against Amen Thompson and the Houston Rockets that are proven that they are a team that is built to win the NBA Finals. After simulating the Western Conference, the Spurs have finally made it to the NBA Finals, and we are going against the Miami Heat. Victor Wembanyama winning the Western Conference MVP award and now is heading into the NBA Finals. Victor takes game 1, winning 131 to 124. It was a very close game until the end, and nobody on the Heat could guard Victor. Now I'm gonna sim the rest of the NBA Finals to see who wins. Let's go. Oh my no! Victor loses his first time going to the NBA Finals, and Miami Heat wins. Jake Humphries, no idea who you are, is the MVP of the NBA Finals. Year 17, all I want to see is Victor win a ring. We got so close last season, I'm not sure if he will be able to run it back. Hey, we at least made it to the play-in tournament. You never know how far we can make a run. We could end up in the finals, and we could potentially win an NBA Finals. We can never count ourselves out. Victor Wembanyama in the Spurs are going up against the Golden State Warriors to see if they can make it past the play-in tournament. The Spurs giving it all they have as they know Victor's career is almost over, and the Spurs eliminate the Warriors to move on to the first round of the playoffs. The Spurs are back playing the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round for like the 10th time, it feels like. Let's see if they can finally get a win or if they go home another year. Let's start the simulation, and no surprise, the San Antonio Spurs have been eliminated. It is year 18 for Victor Wembanyama, and if I'm being honest, I have no idea how he's made it this long into the league. He must have been on that LeBron James body treatment year after year, because that is honestly impressive. And it looks like we didn't even make the playoffs in year 18. It is now year 19 for Victor Wembanyama, and I'd expect this to be his last year in the league. But in year 19, he has won Defensive Player of the Year for the 4th time throughout his career, but his stats are showing as if he's still playing great and his shooting percentages are still improving. Maybe he has more years in him and he is just built different. Oh my God, Victor Wembanyama is hurt. He is hurt. He is hurt. He is hurt. He is hurt. I knew this was going to happen, but I did not think it was going to happen in year 19. I thought this was going to happen way early on in his career, and then he would eventually slow down way sooner. But he lasted 19 years before he got hurt in the NBA. That is extremely impressive as itself. Victor has officially retired after his injury. He tore his right Achilles, and he said he's done. He played 19 seasons, 19 years in the NBA. He is now 38 years old, and unfortunately, he has never won an NBA championship.